One. Hey everybody, this is the Gray Zone with Martin Lopez. I'm also affiliated with the IMM channel on YouTube. You can catch short clips of me there. On my other channel, The Imaginary Mind of Martin, and all my shorts and my artistic ideas on The Imaginary Mind of Martin through AI Playground, and it's a lot of fun to play with. I'm having a lot of fun with it, so let's get right to it. Here in the Gray Zone, just to remind you folks who are new to this channel, to these videos, I stay in the gray area. I will not completely take sides. I'm sticking to the gray zone to explain things of what's going on in the country, in the world today, because there's a lot of things happening that people are just plain overlooking or just don't want to deal with because they're like, oh, well, I'm living my life. What do I need to watch the news for? I'm living my life. What do I need to know what's going on? Well, you do need to know because it affects your life. It affects your family. It affects your job. It affects the market. It affects economically the entire country. So let's get right down to it. Most recently, as we are all aware, Venezuela has been freed by Maduro. Maduro and his wife were arrested in the country. Some of our best came in there in the middle of the night and just took him, arrested him, and got him and snuck him out really quickly. The country celebrated. Liberals were not happy with it. Neither were the Democrats. The Republicans, well, you know, they voiced their opinions on this issue. Trump did what he thought was best for the country. A lot of people got angry at him because he took the oil. Let me make something clear to most of you who don't understand this. The oil was not Venezuela's. Maduro is a cartel member. He was never the president of Venezuela. He never was. He took it as a coup d'etat. A coup d'etat. He took over the country under a regime type of ideology, which is the same thing that is taking place over in Iran. The same thing is happening over there. And now other countries, and perhaps now Chile, they're saying, and other countries are looking to topple their masters that they have been dealing with for years. Now, Maduro, he's murdered hundreds of people. Most recently, they allowed political protesters to be released from prison in Venezuela, and they've been released. But many of them, from what I understand, from what reports are saying, they're still stuck in their in the prisons. Now, after he was removed, the vice president was put in, and Trump had made it clear to her, if you do not comply with what I'm trying to do with Venezuela, you will be removed also. Harsh words, right? But unless you truly understand what these people of Venezuela have gone through, you can't point fingers. Folks all over the place are protesting. Most recently in Manhattan, people are protesting against the attack on Venezuela and the bombings. The bombings lasted one day, maybe two tops, and the entire country was toppled. If we had gone to war with Venezuela, it would not have lasted long. Our military is the best. Our military is the strongest. Our military is the most efficient and the best trained in the world. That's why nobody can mess with us. People don't understand that. And on top of that, they were toppling a dictator who was murdering innocent women and children. He was murdering political people who had views, who had their own opinions, and destroying freedom. So as long as freedom's being destroyed, I say kudos to you, Mr. Trump, for doing what you thought was right. Although, again, in the gray zone, we will point out the good and the bad and how this is going to turn out. So this could also be a bad thing. Now, back to the oil. The oil did not belong to Venezuela. Venezuela had that oil because of Russia, China, Cuba. These three countries alone were looking to make deals with Venezuela, especially China, to place missile defense systems there so they can topple the United States. Now, North Korea is a problem as well because they've been practicing shooting missiles. And the probability of them shooting an EMP blast at the United States will shut down our security grids, shut down our cars, shut down our security system, our missile defense systems, our cell phones will be useless, and we would go back to the Stone Age, literally, in the literal sense, because we would have no way of communicating with one another, leaving our police departments, our local PD, National Guard, Army, Navy, and our U.S. Air Force and everything incapacitated because our planes wouldn't be able to get off the ground due to the EMP blasts. So this is a very serious situation. Mr. Trump has also mentioned he's talking about taking Greenland because there have been reports where they have seen Russian submarines. They have seen Chinese submarines in that zone, and maybe even North Korean submarines around the area, not to mention destroyers and battleships. So things are getting very serious, folks. You know, this nonsense that we're playing around, ain't nothing happening. Everything is fine. No, there's a lot happening, all right? Now, Venezuela's economy is in a total disarray. Social services continues to downward spiral. The humanitarian crisis is in a really, really, really bad shape, which further exacerbates the situation, along with now the chances that the reports are saying that people are suffering from the COVID disease back there again. If those have been proven yet, not completely, but those are the reports that are coming in. Also, the U.S., when they launched this incursion in Caracas, after capturing him, it left the country in an uncertainty. Understand this, because now that the vice president is in, she has to do the work that Maduro was not willing to do. Understand that. American people don't understand that. These liberals don't understand that. And I tell you, my brothers and sisters that are out there who are liberals, please awaken. Please awaken, because the things that are happening affect not only the Democrats, but they affect the Republicans as well. Whether you're a liberal or a conservative, this affects you, this affects your family, this affects how you live your life here in the United States, because the United States is changing. And it's getting darker, folks. It's getting darker in this country with the way people think, with the way people act, and the way politics are being handled in this country. And people are being blinded by, oh, well, I'll promise this and I'll promise that. Here's another perfect example. Mandani, especially with what's happening in Iran, which I'll get to. Mandani made a bunch of promises to not only the Democrats, but to his voters. He was voted in not because he was trying to heal the United States. He likes the United States, not because he likes New York. The history of this man is he's never had a job in his entire life. He used to be a YouTuber, for crying out loud. I mean, let's be honest about everything. He was a YouTuber who used to do some rap music or some form of music, which I never listened personally. I didn't care much for the man. I don't care much for him now, but I have nothing evil to say about him. But his people that he is supporting are part of an evil regime, which he supports, who are terrorists also. And this has been proven fact. He comes from a long line of people who are connected with either Hamas or these other groups, perhaps the Houthis. That hasn't been confirmed completely, except for Hamas and the other groups that he's talked to. And another reason he did this, folks, let's also be honest. He is of Muslim descent. The Muslims believe that they will have Sharia law in the United States. Now, if your country is already screwed up, I don't care where you're from. Why come here in the United States when you're trying to seek peace, start a business, get away from political nonsense and being treated like crap and your family in danger all the time, to come here and bring the same nonsense here? Why? And I'm sure a lot of my Muslim brothers and sisters feel the same way. You know, they just want peace. Most of these folks, I've spoken to a lot of good Muslim people, and they're actually very nice people. They're actually very kind. They're very respectful. But as long as the Quran tells them what they need, what they expect of them, they have to follow the rules. It's by their bylaws. It's by their religion laws that they have to respect. Okay? As they wait for their Muhaddin to come, the Christians are waiting for their Messiah to arrive as well. A lot of changes are happening, folks, especially with Israel. And I'll get to that in another segment, another day. But those changes that are coming will be exposed throughout the United States, throughout the world, and everyone is going to see it, period. Everyone's going to notice and see what's happening. And soon a false prophet shall come forward, and the Antichrist will follow. But again, that's for another segment. Now, Mandani disrespected by lying to his voters and saying, oh, we're going to have free buses. There was perhaps, for what I heard in the reports, one free bus just the other day. Well, everybody's upset because then the free buses, he made promises on national TV, no less. He goes, we're at $2.92 a pop for every ride. Now, they just raised the fare to $3. Can you do the math on that one? Please, can you do the math on that one, folks? Okay? They just raised it at $3. Okay? Why? The man just made promises that there will be free buses. But here's the problem with that. The MTA has to pay their drivers. The MTA has to pay their mechanics. The MTA has to pay for repairs that when those buses fall apart. Who's going to pay for that? Socialism has to use a form of capitalism to gain money to then push for socialism. See, there's a redundancy in that. The redundancy is it. It's ridiculous. When you need to use capitalism to pay for socialism, which then falters, and socialism never wins. It destroys countries. Madani failed his voters by saying he was going to provide them with free buses, special services with groups that, for anybody who was a murderer, and he could calm them down with social service workers instead of police. He wants to defund the police. This is not a good direction for New York City to be in. I pray for the people, including myself, who live in New York, for this changes that are coming to our city. And it's a shame that it's gotten to this point. But back to Venezuela, the country's in uncertainty. And the reason that Trump did this was to also stymie the fentanyl and the drug distributions that was coming from Venezuela. A lot of it was coming into the United States, and thousands amongst Americans were suffering from drug abuse. That fentanyl is no joke, okay? The K2 and all these other new drugs that are coming into the market are to destroy the United States and the American people, to make us weaker so that they can come in and stroll right in with soldiers and take us out, along with the help of the United Nations and other countries to remove us from power. And it's a dangerous time, folks. It's a very dangerous time, for the United States to be in the situation it's in. The poverty line in Venezuela alone is at almost 90%. Do the math on that one, okay? These people were suffering for months, for a long time, okay? Since this guy came into office, they were suffering for like forever with this guy in office, okay? Not to mention 7.9 require humanitarian assistance, okay? That's another high number, okay? When innocent people are dying and women and children can't afford medicine out there. There were reports left and right that since Maduro had taken office, that the people were suffering because they couldn't get medicine to their family. People couldn't seek political asylum because they couldn't get away from Maduro and the changes that he was pushing on the poor people of Venezuela. So to the people of Venezuela, many of us, we're with you, brothers and sisters. Que viva Venezuela. May you have peace, and hopefully all this political nonsense gets put to rest. Now, let's go to Iran. Iran protests have started in the last several days, especially seeing with what happened in Venezuela. Iran protests have gone nationwide, folks. Nationwide. Just yesterday, on January 9th, 2026, protests in Tehran have taken place and have doubled. They were burning down police stations, folks. Burning down police stations. They were burning down major military facilities, and anything that was government held, they were pushing it. The mullahs are running for their lives, as they put it on the news. Okay, the Ayatollah Khomeini, the reports are saying that he's considering seeking asylum in Russia, who is in the middle of a war with Ukraine right now, alongside with North Korea, who is supporting troops out there. The last reports came in that North Korea had pushed 100,000 troops, or actually correct, about 10,000 to 15,000 troops into Ukraine to fight in that region. Now, most recently, also Russia had hit Kiev hard with heavy bombings, and quite a few people were hurt and murdered. Okay, but again, these are the casualties of war, folks. These are the mistakes that are made because sometimes people do get in the way, and innocent people get in the way. Now, the Iran protesters have raged night after night. The deaths are mounting as Trump renews a warning of possible intervention, which I've mentioned on the IMM channel, which is on my YouTube channel, The Imaginary Mind of Martin. This is not going to stop anytime soon, folks. This is not going to stop. Despite the threats from the country, the theocracy to crack down on the demonstrators after shutting down the internet, okay? They even shut down the internet from these folks so that it wouldn't be exposed, but it still somehow got through the news and to people seeing this, okay? Iranians here in the United States are and alongside of their brothers and sisters saying, good, it was about time that this regime was taken down. It was about time. And I agree. It's about time that these people understand you can't push people around. You can't force them to do things they don't want to do. You don't go around pushing people around and expect them to take it forever. They will fight back. When you corner an animal in a corner, eventually he will draw his claws and scratch you. Okay? Please understand that. And most people don't understand that. Now, they shut down the internet. They cut off the telephone lines from off the world because Iran did not want anyone to know what was taking place. Okay? And again, here in the gray zone, we try to stay in the middle. We stay in the middle. We say what we have to say. We report what we're reporting. I'm not taking sides, although there are cases where you have to understand that you have to accept that certain things are happening, and you say, yes, I agree or disagree. And there's a lot of things you could disagree on in politics these days, especially if you're a liberal, where unfortunately most liberals disagree with just about everything. Okay? The protesters appear to be taking encouragement from the repeated declarations of support by the Trump administration, saying that if they continue shooting innocent people, which they're murdering innocent people in the streets. In many positive cases, the police and the armies are putting down their arms. They don't want to shoot the innocent people of the streets. They don't want to shoot them. They don't want to harm them. They're tired of being basically controlled and being told what to do and how to live and how to breathe. And if you get enough food, enough water, or if there's jobs out there. So clearly it's a New World Order-ish mindset of these countries, and these dictators think they could just come in and destroy and control people's lives. The country exiled the crown prince, who called on them Saturday to try and overwhelm the security forces and seize the towns. A lot is going on, folks. You know, let's be honest with ourselves. A lot is going on in our country and our world in general. Okay? You have the Venezuela situation that I mentioned before. You have the Iran situation I just mentioned. Okay? And kudos to you folks in Iran and to my Iranian brothers and sisters here in the United States. Okay? I hope you find your freedom and your peace finally. Not to mention, Russia is still in the middle of war with Ukraine alongside with North Korea. We still have problems with Iraq. Israel is still in the middle of several incursions and battles. There are multiple civil wars taking place all throughout the world that nobody's mentioning. Okay? That nobody's even understanding because they don't want to understand that the time is now. These are the end days. These are the days that the Bible spoke of. These are the days that I've been talked about in prophecy, and people oblivious to what's really taking place in this country, oblivious to what's taking place around the world, and oblivious to what's taking on inside of themselves and their spiritual nature. Nobody wants to see the truth. And the truth is, tomorrow's not promised. Even less than it was in the 70s, even less than it was in the 80s, even less than it was in the 90s, and now 2026 is here, and it started out with a bang, folks. It started with a huge bang. So these folks in Iran have already started taking action. They're taking to the streets. They're all over the place. They're fighting back in their own way. And Trump's already clear to them, if you shoot these people, there will be American intervention involved. And we will bring in troops to try to control and quell the situation. You know? So we're reaching the draft soon, folks. If you look carefully all over Facebook and you look online, there's already advertisements. Are you 45 and over? Are you 56? We're hiring the United States Army. We'll bring you back in, especially if you're prior service. They're willing to hire 50-something-year-olds to bring them back in the military to support this cause. I mean, if that's not a sign to you folks that things are getting serious, that we need to start taking everything that's taking place on the news a lot more seriously, the shootings, the firings, not even 2 weeks, several weeks ago, 2 men of Muslim descent were firing on a beach area, and they shot and killed quite a few people. One of the assailants was shot. Okay? This is getting serious, folks. Whether it's the deep state, the New World Order, Illuminati-ish, or whoever's involved, we need to be prepared We need to watch what's going on. Start saving food, water, medicine. Get yourself a power generator. Prepare, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Because here in the gray zone, we're watching, we're observing, we're studying what's taking place, because I have been for over 20-something years. Most people think they understand what's really going on in politics, but they don't. It's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than our history. It's a lot deeper than our religions. Our religions, not just Christianity, not just Catholicism, not just Islam, not just Buddhists, etc., etc., etc. This thing with Iran and Venezuela is now moving into a sequence where other countries are saying, well, if they can do it, we should be doing it too. Watch out for that. Okay? Watch out for that, because a lot of other countries are fed up. China, for instance. The poor folks of China are being thrown into the streets because they just can't make men's meat. There's no jobs. A lot of folks are going homeless. Those poor folks are not allowed to publicize anything online. If not, they're taken, they're arrested, and they're never to be seen again. I want to say something also before I forget. A woman was taken in Iran. I don't know her name. I forgot her name. But she was taken onto a bus, and she hasn't been seen since when this whole thing started in Iran with the protests. So here in the gray zone, we pray for her. We hope that she gets out safely, that the regime releases her, because she's innocent. She was merely just trying to express herself. So, folks, pay attention, okay? Pay attention to what's happening in your world, into your country, into your towns, into your cities. Because things are getting worse and worse by the minute, let's be honest. Things are getting more volatile, things are getting more dangerous, and things are getting more uncertain. And as long as the uncertainty continues, it creates fear in all of us. A sense of fear that creates where you don't know if you're going to make ends meet tomorrow to feed your children, feed your babies. If you're going to make it to work tomorrow, and if you do make it to work, how long will I have my job for? Will I be able to make ends meet? Will I be able to do what I have to do and pay my bills and pay my light, my gas, my cable? Everything is rising. Food prices are rising. Meanwhile, the elites are taking the real food into the bunkers while we're eating fake plastic food. Again, no one's paying attention. Okay, because people are saying, oh, the elitists are just started to pack up and go into the thing. No. They've been doing this for some time now. Okay, they've been doing this for some time now. Okay, so, folks, pay attention. Watch out what's going on. You can find my short clips on the Imaginary Mind of Martin on the IMM channel on YouTube. Okay, and, blessed be for those of you who understand what that phrase means. And may the angels surround you with their wings and protect you, folks. Okay? From myself and the folks at the Gray Zone, peace be with you, my folks. Keep a watchful eye on what's going on in this country, because things are getting serious. Be well.